George is a West Ham fan. Hello, George.
Evening, gents.
How are you?
George?
You all right? Yeah. I'm actually ringing up to talk about Norwich.
Oh, okay. Go on then, George.
Yeah. I mean, with my West Ham hat on, I'm glad they're in the Premier League because it's a nice place to go. It's a guaranteed 6 points every year. And, you know, they occupy one of the relegation spaces. But from a Premier League perspective, as you would say, Jason, they stink the place out.
They do. They're dross. They are dross.
It's not just this year. 2 years ago, 5 years ago, in 2005, when Delilah Smith, what's her name?
Delia.
Done that speech.
Delilah. Why did you get that wrong, George?
I'm not great with words, Andy. But yeah, they just come up, don't spend a penny, and they even sold their best player this year.
George, here's the problem. Here's the problem with Norwich. As a business model, we were talking about this earlier. As a business model, they work. They're brilliant. Yeah. They make money. They go back down. They come back up. They're brilliant. Yeah. But football's the only business that has a fan base. That's the problem. That's the problem. So from a fan's perspective, they're not doing the right thing. From a bank manager's perspective, they're doing exactly the right thing. So you've got to find that happy medium, which in football, I don't think there is ever a happy medium, is there?
Yeah, I mean, but we are the best league in the world, and quite frankly, they're letting us down.
Well, I mean, Andy's right, George. I mean, you know, if you think about what some clubs have been through, Leeds are a great example. They went down to the third tier of English football, and you know the financial problems that they had to encounter. They've only just come back 2 seasons ago. As long as Norwich City are still in business and still functioning and still have a fan base and still, then that is a box tick. Certainly after what's happened over the last 18 months, you know, COVID is you know, when you think of some of the transfer fees that have taken place in this window, bearing in mind fans haven't been allowed to stadium for the last 12 months ish. You know, Norwich City can go about their business, and that's you know, we all have an opinion of because it's our league, and I'm not disagreeing with you, George, but there's an argument he said that Norwich City financially are being run in a different way, but they're not going to go under.
They've got to have some money, though. If I was the Premier League, I wouldn't pay them any parachute money. I'd say start spending some money to be a good advert for the league. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's easy to spend other people's money, though, isn't it?
But what happens if they start spending money and then go under as a club, George, and they're your club? Yeah. You know, the club you support. I know, but let's just say it's West Ham. They start spending money they don't have to survive. It all goes wrong. Exactly like Jay said with Leeds, they nearly went under as a club. Then what happens?
Yeah, but they must have a bit of money, Andy. Come on. They sold their best player as well as getting the money for getting promoted.
Well, this is what I was saying about finding that happy medium. You know, it's how much money do you spend to survive? Is 50 million enough? Is 100 million enough? I don't know the answers, by the way, to that, George. But
at least 50. At least 50.
Yeah, well, thanks for your call.
They sold the best player, didn't they?
Yeah.
And, you know, they're kind of almost that saying to them, certainly I think, we're not going to stay up this year. And I think most Norwich fans... But how it must be quite depressing right now, knowing they're going to go down.
It's not only knowing they're going to go down, excuse me, it's knowing they're going to go down, and they might end up with the fewest amount of points ever in the Premier League. It's a long way to go, I know that, but the gap between the big heads and the middle league now, you look at the middle league, so the top four, we're going into the top four won't change for a long, long time.
I don't think the top four.
But then you've got the West Hams, the Leicesters, the Tottenhams, the Arsenal, the Evertons, right?
Villa.
So Villa, by the way, how good were they at the weekend? But then you've got that group of clubs. So then the gap between the clubs below them and them is getting even bigger.
Well, then you've got another little... So you've got 3 leagues in one, right?
Yeah.
And then
you might even have 4 leagues in one. You know, you might have the small group of clubs that, like Norwich, that aren't really prepared to go for
the dross.
That's one way of looking at it, yeah.
Dross.